New York Congressman Ritchie Torres endorsing Andrew Cuomo to be the New York City's next mayor. Congressman Torres joins us this morning to talk about this and much more. I think that we have pointed out many people are able to have pretty solid comebacks in politics. The further we get removed from, I don't even remember. I remember some of what it was, but I also remember as a governor, he was pretty well thought of in terms of just being, of operations, of being, there's, I think, a little bit of nostalgia for how he was as a governor versus the current governor. Why are you doing it? He's definitely like a centrist in terms of immigration and Israel and other issues like that. Much more centrist than some parts of the Democratic Party right now.
Well, look, I mean, Andrew Cuomo is a common-sense Democrat who represents...
That's an oxymoron.
Well, no, it's not. Because most Democrats do have common sense. And for me, the two most important virtues in politics are competence and courage. And Andrew Cuomo has the competence to run New York City in a moment of crisis. And he has the courage to stand up to the extremes of American politics, whether it's the far right or the far left. There's a mayoral candidate who openly identifies with the Democratic Socialist of America, which celebrated the mass murder of Jews on October 7th. And so when it comes to confronting political extremism in New York, when it comes to confronting the crisis of crime, we need not a nice guy, but a tough guy like Andrew Cuomo.
Is this an endorsement of Governor Cuomo or an indictment of Mayor Adams, in your view?
Look, it's both. New York City's in crisis. 4 deputy mayors have resigned. The city is less safe than it should be. In the subway system, the murder rate is at the highest level in 25 years. And what we need now more than ever is the kind of stable and strong and steady leadership that Governor Cuomo can provide. And the effectiveness of Andrew Cuomo as an executive need not be taken on faith. Right? It is a fact. Right? The redevelopment of Moynihan Train Hall is a fact. The redevelopment of LaGuardia Airport is a fact. The redevelopment of Javits Center is a fact. And so we as New Yorkers, every day, we live and see the legacy of Andrew Cuomo as a great builder of New York City.
Can I ask you just about Adams right now?
Sure.
And how you think about him? I have made the comment that our mayor is being held hostage by the White House. I mean, it's sort of a remarkable situation because he could be prosecuted at any moment if he does something that this White House doesn't want.
But the congressman is probably in favor of you call it a quid pro quo. The quo that Trump wants from Adams, you want as well, and that's tightening up immigration and crime.
Well, I want a mayor who could govern independently of the far right, and Donald Trump represents the far right. And what I found striking is that Donald Trump made the decision not to pardon Eric Adams or to permanently drop the charges, but only to do so temporarily. And so the fear of a re-indictment keeps Mayor Adams permanently under the thumb of Donald Trump.
I've also made the argument, I think politically, at least in this city, it hurts Adams rather than helps him insofar as the citizenry of the city says to themselves, we can't have somebody who is directly under the thumb of somebody else. But I understand there's part of me that can rationalize why Adams would accept a deal.
But I'll come back to this. The reason you left the Progressive Caucus was because the far left of your party is soft on immigration, not as pro-Israel as it should be, soft on crime. So the things that Trump is demanding from Mayor Adams are the same things that you want, and the reason that you call it far right. What is immigration far right? Is crime far right? Why are those far right things?
Well, I would argue the attempt to defund Medicaid and the tune of $880 billion
or
is
defunding
excessive.
the police. I don't know.
But I would say the issue is not his cooperation with the Trump administration, which is a policy disagreement. The issue is the quid pro quo. Like, that to me is profoundly unethical. And we have a mayor who's lobbying not for the interest of New York,
but
governor? For his self-preservation.
Are you running for governor?
Considering a run for governor.
Considering, and what would you continue to distance yourself from that flank of from the AOC? I don't know, what do you want to call it? From the Progressive Caucus?
I'm not.
You blame them for losing the election?
I don't think anyone connects him to the Progressive
Well, no, he already
side.
left, because he left. Yeah, you left the Progressive Caucus, right?
Particularly on the issue of Israel after October 7th,
Well, I would, that among other things, all right? Immigration or not so much?
Look, for me, no state saw a greater swing toward Donald Trump than New York. And that, to me, is not a coincidence. That's a consequence of failing governance on the part of Kathy Hochul. Like the majority of New Yorkers feel we're heading in the wrong direction.
Right.
We feel our quality of life, our public safety, our affordability are declining, our cost of taxes are rising. We're paying more and more for less and less. In 2014, the state budget was $142 billion. Today, the governor proposed a $252 billion budget. There's not a single New Yorker who has seen a $110 billion improvement in the delivery of government services.
I got maybe a complicated one for you, especially if you want to run for governor. What do you think of congestion pricing?
Look, it's a necessity because congestion pricing would generate about $1 billion of revenues, which is a bondable funding stream for a $15 billion capital investment in the MTA. And for me, the preservation of our public transit system is one of the most important responsibilities.
I say complicated because obviously you're going to require votes from folks upstate and in Westchester and Long Island and other places. She's in New Jersey.
Even people who are in the boroughs here who now have to pay a toll and a tax where they never did before. I mean, it feels like it hits pretty hard on the heads of blue-collar workers in particular who have to come into Manhattan for their jobs.
Look, I would never downplay or deny the cost, but the future of our city depends on a fully funded, functioning public transit system. Our public transit system has over $100 billion in capital needs, and I feel it's irresponsible for Donald Trump to create a $15 billion hole in the MTA's capital budget without an alternative that fills the gap.
Do you think it's going to have any economic impact on the city? That's negative? I mean, some people would argue that it could create a negative impact if you feel like there's less people that can get into the city. Other people would argue that if you can create the productivity gains as a result of cars being able to move in and around and actually the public transport system working better, that unto itself should make the city a lot better.
It's hard. It's too early to tell. I mean, we know that there's been, congestion has been radically reduced in the central business district. Emergency times have improved. But, it's too early to tell. But ultimately, preserving the public transit system should be foremost among the responsibilities of a governor.
Why don't you get people who are using it to actually pay instead of jumping over the turnstiles and not paying on the buses?
It's not either or. I think it's all of the above. But I agree, we need to crack down on fare evasion.